Hello everybody, Alistair Trent here, and today I'm just making a brief video about the coronavirus situation and tenants in Ontario who aren't paying the rent and how to deal with it. Excuse my somewhat disheveled state. I'm quarantined in Toronto just like everybody else, but nevertheless, we have got a couple of calls from landlords whose tenants aren't paying, and I thought I would therefore make a video to try and address the best situation to deal with the problems that might arise. I will say I've spoken to a number of our clients, and the majority of them seem to be doing fairly well in terms of collecting rent. However, many of those are specialty housing providers or have a lot of tenants who are on government assistance or other situations where the coronavirus really hasn't affected their ability to pay the rent. At the moment, the Landlord and Tenant Board in Ontario is basically shut down, and they are having emergency hearings concerning like serious illegal activity or issues that affect the safety of other people, which you have to have a special procedure to request that. But otherwise, in terms of normal arrears of rent hearings and this type of thing, they're not holding them at the moment. They've suspended those hearings. And even before the whole coronavirus issue arose, they had a considerable backlog and a considerable time to get a hearing date, as was reported in a number of media sources. However, they have hired a number of other people, or adjudicators and staff, to try and alleviate that backlog, but no sooner did they do that than the whole coronavirus situation raised its ugly head, and now we're kind of into a total shutdown situation. So the first thing that I would say is if you have a tenant who's not paying the rent, then the most important thing is to communicate with the tenant and try and figure out what exactly is going on. If they've lost their job, or what their ability to pay looks like in the future, whether they can pay a portion of the rent. Really, when you're looking at rent or collecting rent, it's important to try and work out some type of an arrangement with the tenant, which you can certainly reduce to writing, that will protect both your interests. And unfortunately, similar to the video that I have on collecting rent in general, the reality of the situation is that even without this coronavirus thing, the process for collecting rent or enforcing the payment of rent in Ontario takes a significant amount of time to sort of work its way through the process. And if you allow a large amount of arrears of rent to accrue, it becomes financially advantageous for the tenant to simply say, I'll find another place and worry about paying the landlord later. Whereas if you keep the arrears of rent to a minimum or act vigilantly to sort of enforce your rights, it's generally more expensive and inconvenient for the tenant to have to incur the inconvenience and expense of moving versus simply making a payment arrangement for any arrears that exist. So the first thing would be to speak to the tenant and find out what the situation is. And if you believe that there's a reasonable chance that you'll be able to collect a portion of the rent, or that the prospect for payment in the future is fairly good, then by all means reduce some type of a payment plan, or to collect as much rent as possible in the interim. And as long as that's followed, then you know you're at least secure in collecting something while this whole process works its way through. If, however, you know your tenants not paying the rent, and there seems to be little chance of them paying in the future, or they're involved in one of these things, like I've seen a number of videos posted on YouTube, sort of encouraging people to go on rent strikes or this type of thing. And if that's the circumstance, then I would recommend that you, even with the shutdown, start the process as soon as possible, so that you at least maintain your space in line, and hopefully can obtain a quicker remedy when the whole circumstance abates itself and the situation starts to get back to normal. So if you found this video informative, please hit the like button, and if you'd like to get information on residential tenancies, whether with respect to the coronavirus or anything else, feel free to contact my office at 416-628-4835, or through my website at www.investrent.ca. Again, thanks for joining me, and best of luck, as all of us, with getting through these difficult times at the moment.